The end of chapter 4 in second chapter, in the Mishnah 4. It says Altomek she'efne she'pona eshne. Shouldn't say when I have time, I'll study. Shemelo tipone, because that moment of being freed up may not happen. Now, a person who is opportunity geared, meaning he's inclined to go after opportunity. He doesn't need much encouragement. Of course, naturally, his inclination is, if he's something to be beneficial to him, he's going after it. But something that a person doesn't really, it takes a tremendous amount of work and effort, or even interest to know whether it's worthwhile. There's a word, it's called procrastination. Person procrastinates because since it's not clear in terms of the value, and it takes that degree of effort, and there's a cost factor, so therefore the person puts it off and puts it off and puts it off. That's called procrastination. The Gemara tells us that greater is the one who's obligated to perform than one is not obligated to perform. For instance, a child before he's bar mitzvah, he has no obligation. He has no level of liability. So if a child does a mitzvah, he's 12 and a half years old before his bar mitzvah. And although he's not obligated, not commanded, he does the mitzvah, the value of the mitzvah is not the same as the mitzvah which he performs, the same mitzvah with the same level of maturity as the one who performs the mitzvah after he's bar mitzvah, after he becomes a person of obligation. I mean, you think logically speaking, something that you must do, you must do. Something that you don't have to, and despite that you do it, seemingly the person should receive greater reward, greater credit for the one who's not obligated. But yet the Talmud concludes, greater is the one who's obligated to perform and does perform than the one who's not obligated to perform and does perform. Even though logically it seems to be, it seems to be the contrary. So over there, the commentators explain what's the reason. When you become bar mitzvah, the word bar mitzvah means you're a person of mitzvah. You have obligation. In the words of the Talmud, so bar chiyuva. Bar chiyuv means you're a person of obligation. A child is not bar chiyuva. Whenever you have an obligation to perform, there's a worry factor. Of course, the person's worried that if he doesn't perform, there's a great liability. We say in Pirkei Avos that what determines the value of anything we do within the realm of mitzvah, which touches upon spirituality, l'fum tzaragra, the greater the degree of sacrifice and pain and struggle, and despite the struggle, you do it, it has greater value. Something that you do which comes easy or naturally, it has value, but it doesn't have the same value. A person who goes and puts his shoulder to the wheel and brings it about, it's another level of value. That's good. That's God. That's l'fum tzaragra. Based on pain, that will determine the reward. Now, the commentators explain a person has to put on tefillin. If he doesn't put on tefillin, and we're talking a person believes in God, he understands the consequences. So there's always at a certain level, a subconscious level or a conscious level, he better perform, or else there could be ramifications, negative ramifications, because he's held accountable. That worry, that he's worrying that that mitzvah has to be performed, it gives a certain degree of first value. In his eyes, he sees that it's something of greater importance because he must do it. In addition, you have this aspect of what? Of tzaro. A person who's a minor, he has no worry. He does it, he does do it. This man is worried. So there's a certain cost factor of being a person of obligation. That component of cost factor that he worries, that goes under the guise or the headline, the banner of Lefum Tzaragra. The pain, the worry will determine the degree of value of that action. That's the Lefum Tzaragra. That's one. The other way you could understand it is this. Why does a person sin? Because we have God created an evil inclination. The evil inclination is always sniping at us 24/7, every day of your life till the last moment of your life. He's trying to ensnare you. That's the evil inclination. When after Hashem created Adam, the human being, the first, it says, God saw all that he created was Tov Ma'od. Ma'od is very in Hebrew. It was very. So the letters of Ma'od, according to the same letters as Adam. Whatever he created was Ma'od, is Adam. Because there's a human being that he's going to utilize this existence as the playing field to make choices. So the human being gave value to all existence. But if there wouldn't be a species that has worthiness or has culpability, the world has no value. The whole value is because there's an Adam. Because this is the setting for all those challenges. To choose to be or not to be. That's what it is. But there's another interpretation of Midrash. Tov Ma'od Ze Yetzer Hara. Everything he created was very good. What did he create? He created the evil inclination. Because the evil inclination is the one who determines whether you succeed or you fail, to a degree. He's the one who creates the challenges. So because he creates the challenges, that's the ultimate purpose. If a person would naturally do good, the action is not accredited to the person. It's not attributed to the person. But if you have a Yetzer Hara, you have an evil inclination where he could turn day into night, night into day, and despite that, you make the right decision, then you've scored big. So all Hashem said was Tov Ma'od Ze Yetzer Hara. That's the evil inclination. When does he start sniping at a person? When there's liability, when there's culpability. When does culpability come into play? At the age of 13, when you become a bar mitzvah. Now that there's liability, the consequences to your actions, he's trying to trip you up. The minor, who there's no consequences because there's no liability, he doesn't try to trip you up. But the adult, where there is liability and serious liability, that's where he tries to get you to deny you the right and present you the wrong in the most attractive, elaborate way. That it's advantageous to you. Chofetz Chaim writes at one location, the evil inclination will always tell you, you've learned enough. Well, we have whisperings in our ear. You've learned enough. When it comes to making money, he will not tell you you've earned enough or if you indulged enough. Do more, and he'll tell you. The Chofetz Chaim gives an example, an unbelievable example. Person believes in Hashem. Person prays 3 times a day, wears tefillin, keeps Shabbos, and he's a shoemaker. All of a sudden, he gets an idea how he could really succeed financially as a shoemaker. What does he do? He hires a number of shoemakers who work under him, and they start mass producing shoes. And it succeeds. What does he do? Next level, he buys a building, he opens a factory, buys equipment that the things that were done by hand before can be done by machine. And the business starts thriving. And the business needs this man's attention, meaning that in the morning he could pray with a minyan. He could pray in a shul. Midday, there's so much going on in the business. He can't get away from the office. So what? He stops praying. He prays privately. Just pray with me. Nighttime comes. He used to study at night after he worked in a shoemaker shop. He's so exhausted, he barely keeps his eyes open. And this becomes a cycle. All of a sudden, what? People get aware that he has this factory that produces shoes. They say, you know something? We're willing to invest. We'll open factories in other communities and outlets. you're going to become a mega shoe manufacturer. And as he succeeds financially to a greater degree, even Chakras, he doesn't play with a minion because he has to travel from city to city, checking out his various locations. And he's thankful. Hashem, I'm thankful. And he sings God's praises. But what about the cost factor? You're not davening with it any longer. Even Chakras. At nighttime, you don't study any longer because you're too worn out or too preoccupied building your empire here. You'd say, it's enough. You mean one factory is not enough to support your family? The answer is there's no end to it. Once you taste success, financial success, you go to the moon with it. But let's say this person studies a significant amount of time, gets whisperings. Don't you think you studied enough? Don't you think you should give some time to your children? Don't you think you should give more attention to your wife? Don't you think you should go on a vacation? When it comes to business, making money, he doesn't tell you go on a vacation, unless it's for the sake of tripping you up. And that's the fact. Al tobek she'epone eshne. When I have free time, I'm going to study. You know why? Because Shem lo tipone. The evil inclination tells you, at the age of 40, you're still earning a living. Why don't you give your full throttle, make enough money, you could retire by 50. Then you'll be able to study from 50 to 70 easily. You know what happens? When he reaches 50, he has all this capital to invest. He can't afford to stop working. He can't afford to retire because there's too much opportunity. But originally when he was 40, he says, when I reach 50, I'll have enough money, I'll be able to retire and sit and learn all day. The evil lives, it's not time yet. Not time yet. Got to go further. Reaches 60, I'll study when I'm 60. But because then I'll really have time. When I have time, I'll study. And this goes from day to day until the end of his life. And there's always reasons why he's not able to study, whether it's by choice or he becomes incapacitated. What happens, God forbid, he dies? You should not say, when I'm free, I'll study, because you may not be free to study. You know why? Because if Hashem pulls the plug on the person, at a certain point, you could have all the best intentions in the world, you're not going anywhere. So therefore, if right now we have a principle known as mitzvah bon diot chal tachmid tzedek, when a mitzvah presents itself, do not delay it. As they say in English, when the iron's hot strike, that's what you do. You can't allow opportunity to pass, as you don't let financial opportunity to pass. Spiritual opportunity, even more so. Don't let it pass. I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. Rosh Hashanah is coming. I'll make amends with God. With this coming year will be a better year in terms of my spiritual standing. What do we have to wait till next year? Do it now. Do you know you're going to make it to Rosh Hashanah? How do you even know you'll even be there? Now you feel that you could address it responsibly, do it now. Don't push it off for later. And that's exactly because the human kind is something that takes a tremendous effort. It's something which is not natural. We put it off. Put off. That's called, as we said, procrastination. So I'll tell me because that moment may not come. I always say, years ago, I used to approach people. I'd say to the person, of course, it wasn't a stranger. I said, would you have some time to study? I have time available. Maybe we can study together. Person says, something, if you would only know how busy I am, you realize I don't have a moment for myself. I don't have a moment for my family. I have no time to study. So I say every day you may not have time. But what about half an hour a week? Could you carve out half an hour of the week to study? Rabbi, you don't understand how busy I am. I have 6 telephones going simultaneously. I have my lawyer on the phone. I have my accountant there. And I have this one, that. Just don't have the time. What about half an hour a month? Person said, Rabbi, I see you still don't understand. What about 5 minutes a month? I don't have a minute. If a person says he doesn't have a minute, God forbid, that means he doesn't value whatever that endeavor is. He doesn't value it because it's unheard of. A person doesn't have a minute, doesn't have 5 minutes. I'm not asking every day you should study for 3 hours. A half an hour a month, 5 minutes a month. You know what the answer is? There's no interest. Why is there no interest? Because it's not a priority. It's not a priority. You have other priorities. Your spirituality takes the back burner. Shabbos, I have no choice. I'm not going to violate Shabbos if I have an observant background. That's what it is. But even Shabbos, do you observe it properly? What do you discuss on Shabbos? Well, once you study the laws, maybe you'll do better. You know, I believe it's the spirit. I have the spirit, okay? Spirit means, Johnny Walker Blue Label before the rabbi says your sermon, with some whatever it is, rugelach and some sugar kichel and this and that. That's what it's all about. But who said to get down there? To the Kiddush club, as they call it. The evil inclination. Besides being a disrespect, people, they pride themselves, they're respectful people. How does it look like? The rabbi saying a sermon, you walk out to have a Kiddush club downstairs. Total disrespect. You want to have this convenience, don't come to shul. And as it is, you speak after davening.